Hi everyone, welcome back to Spring into Math 7. I'm Mrs. Campbell and today we're going to be doing the second review for Chapter 3. So let's get started. So the first thing that I wanted to review was the order of operations and rational numbers. Let's take a look at some of the things that we need to remember. First of all, it's important that we always work in making common form. And I'll give you an example of what I mean by that in just a minute. But remember to always put things in common form. Okay, also it's important that we follow the order of operations, and we've talked about that a lot, but it's really important to remember PEMDAS, P-E-M-D-A-S. Okay, so let's take a look at an example. Now, the first thing I said was it's important that we work in common form, and let me show you what I mean by that. The example problem I have is 1/2 times negative 6.25 plus 3.6 minus 3/4. When I say that we need to put things into common form, it's hard to work with things when they're in different forms. So it's hard to subtract a fraction from a decimal. So in this case, we're going to convert that fraction of 1/2 into 0.5, and we're going to convert the negative 3/4 into negative 0.75, and then we can actually work with them more easily. So we have 0.5 times negative 6.25 plus 3.6 minus 0.75. Okay, next let's use our order of operations, and we know that parentheses come first in our PEMDAS. Okay, so negative 6.25 plus 3.6 gives me negative 2.65. Next I'm going to multiply, that's my M, so I've got 0.5 times negative 2.65, which gives me 1.325. Then I will subtract the 0.75, and I come up with 0.575. So that's just a good problem that shows how it's important to put things into common form and to follow the order of operations. All right, let's try some percent problems. Now, this problem has quite a few steps. So it's important that we take our time and work through them one by one. The question reads, find 30% of 60, find 15% of 50, and multiply their sum by 1/3. So first of all, let's convert our percents to decimals and solve the percent problems. 30% of 60, all we have to do is make that 0.30 times 60, and I get 18. So now I know that 18 is 30% of 60. 15% of 50, I will change it to 0.15, multiply by 50, and I get 7.5. But I'm not done yet. I've simply found 30% of 60 and 15% of 50. Now I need to multiply their sum by 1/3. Now this is tricky because it says multiply their sum. So that tells me sum I need to add. So I have 18 plus 7.5, now I have 25.5. Now I can do the last part of this problem, which says multiply their sum by 1/3. So I have 25.5 times 1/3. Again, I'm going to put that into common form. I'll turn 25.5 into a fraction and make it 25.5 times 1/3. Then I will turn my 25.5 into an improper fraction to make it simpler to multiply. So I have 51 over 2 times 1/3. Then I will multiply, and that gives me 51 over 6. Now I'll simplify to get 8 and 3, 6. Simplified again gives me 8.5. Okay, let's try a real world problem with rational numbers, and we'll highlight the important information. Okay, a taxi service charges a flat fee of $4.20 per ride, plus an additional 80 cents per mile. If a taxi ride costs $6.50, how many miles did the taxi travel? Okay, how would we work this out? Now, the thing that it's important that you remember is that there's a flat rate of $4.20. So we can deduct that right off the top. You want to keep in mind, what information are we trying to find? We're trying to figure out how many miles the taxi traveled. So in order to do that, the first thing we want to do is get rid of the flat fee, the $4.20. So we know that this person started or spent a total amount of $6.60. When I subtract the $4.20, I get $2.40. that is the amount that was charged for the miles. Now, to find out how many total miles the taxi traveled, it's actually pretty simple. I just have to take a look at, okay, so there's $2.40 that were spent on the miles. I'm going to have to ask myself, how many miles at 80 cents per mile make a total of $2.40? Well, all I need to do is take $2.40 and divide it by 80, and I get 3. I've also given you a model here. If that helps, you can see you've got your 660 here. The 420 is blacked out or greened out and set apart separately. But you can see visually how the 380s total $2.40. So the answer to this problem is the taxi traveled 3 miles. All right, everyone, that just about wraps it up for this lesson. Thanks so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time.